Welcome to 3-Minute Real Estate. This is the first episode of our new series, How to Sell Your House. I'm Richard Berry, broker associate with the Cisco's Group Realtors in Overland Park, Kansas. So, if you want to sell your house, what's the first stop? It's not figuring price, it's not fixing up your house, it's not even advertising. It's preparing yourself. The biggest challenge is to emotionally detach yourself. Virtually every homeowner thinks their home is worth top dollar, regardless of its condition or market conditions. It's sometimes very difficult to reset that expectation. The first step is to reset your thinking. If you can quit thinking of your house as home, but instead think of your house as an asset to be sold, you'll make major strides toward getting your house sold. However, there are some challenges. First, there's the challenge of the memories you have in the house. Pleasant memories add value to any home. However, whoever buys your house will have a blank slate. They'll create their own memories over time. So you have to look at your house as that blank slate. Second, there's the challenge of your taste. Your house has been changed over time to meet your taste. It's an excellent fit for you. Third, there's the challenge of ego. This has been your home, so it's easy to take criticisms personally. Continuing on with emotions, let's talk about the critiques. Some may be pretty blunt. Ouch. Some folks may dislike the very features that are your favorite. Ouch again. So how do you deal with it? By remembering that it's about your house, not you. Very few of the people that see the house will even know you. When they're looking at the house, their comments pertain to the house and the house only, not you. So now let's get into the potential buyer's head. The universal question in every buyer's head is it worth it? Even though many buyers will not think of it in these terms, what they're really asking is the value greater or equal to the price? As long as the value to them is greater than the price, then they will be open to buying. However, if the price is greater than the value, then in most cases they'll simply move on. So how do they ask the question? Usually it takes one of two forms. Can I get a better home at this price? Can I get this home cheaper somewhere else? So how do you respond? First, whether you realize it or not, you're in competition with every other house on the market. So, your value needs to be as good or better than any other house at your price. Or, your price needs to be as good or better than any other house with similar value. Or both. Next, get an expert, a good real estate agent. They are outside your mental box. They have needed emotional space. They have experience. A good agent will sell more homes in a year than you may in your lifetime. They are aware of current trends. They can give you relevant and helpful suggestions on how to improve value. The best agents will be able to suggest the least expensive fixes for the most return. They really are experts. Today we'll be discussing preparing your house. Most people lack the ability to see the way a house could be. Even if a potential buyer can see the potential, most buyers will mentally double the true cost of needed repairs. In other words, if it would take $3,000 to fix your house, most buyers would lower their mental price by $6,000 to $10,000. As I mentioned last time, the critical goal is to make the perceived value of your home meet or exceed the price. The goal is to get the most bang for the buck. This is a place where your realtor can help. A good realtor will be aware of the most effective improvements and have great suggestions on where to focus your work. One of the most cost-effective improvements also has some of the most dramatic effects: paint. Many people don't notice weak paint in their house because the deterioration happens over such a long period of time. A scuff here, a nick there, a stain over there. It adds up. However, fresh paint can work wonders. With a new coat of paint, not only do you get pristine walls, but it's often a chance to change the color. Different colors come in and out of vogue. A few years ago, it was a certain shade of beige. More recently, it has been a warm gray. Right now, it appears a very light gray is becoming popular. Obviously, other colors will become popular as time goes on, but I'm not kidding. It's amazing how dramatic the change can be. Next, flooring can be as dramatic as paint. If carpeting is worn and dirty, it will devalue the home, usually more than the cost of replacement of the carpet. Additionally, dated or worn-out vinyl flooring or even wood flooring has the same effect. But all is not lost. Hardwood floor can be refinished and vinyl can be replaced, all at a reasonable cost, at least compared to the differences in the perceived value of your home, if you don't. As with paint, new flooring also gives you an opportunity to update. For example, sheet vinyl flooring is very, very dated and has very low value to most buyers. Replacing it with a nice tile dramatically updates the look and improves the value. Replacing asphalt tile with luxury vinyl planking or engineered hardwoods will utterly transform the look of a house. Obviously, very few people have an unlimited budget, so that means you'll need to focus on the areas that will return the most value. Notice, I didn't say that you should necessarily focus on the areas that need the most improvement. Some areas are more critical in terms of buyer interest. Today, we're going to discuss areas of the house to focus on. Generally speaking, there are two inside areas of the house that should have your primary focus. The kitchen, which is the center of family life, and the master bedroom, the center of private life. First, let's look at the kitchen. What stands out to most buyers in the kitchen? Appliances. Do they work? Are they clean? Depending on the price range of your house, the age and the finish of the appliances, such as whether they're stainless steel, may be a factor. Cabinets and countertops. How's the finish? Does everything work? The drawers, the doors? Again, depending on your price range, finishes and style may make a difference. For example, for a mid-level home or above, granites or other similar materials are normally expected for the countertops, and that expectation is moving into lower-priced homes as granite becomes more cost-effective. Lighting. Is there ample light? Is it current and attractive? For example, boxed-in fluorescent lights on the ceiling were once a very attractive feature, but today it's considered less attractive. Flooring. Is the flooring in good shape? Is it something that's current? For example, generally, sheet vinyl flooring is not the attraction it once was. On the other hand, more current materials, such as tile, engineered hardwoods, or even luxury vinyl planking, are generally considered a plus. Overall, in your kitchen, aim for a light, open, and airy feel. Most people love it. Next is the master bedroom suite. What stands out to buyers? Again, some of this depends on the price range of the house. First of all, is there a master bathroom? What is its condition? For example, one thing that was popular in older homes was carpeting in the bathroom, something that's a big, big negative today. Are the light fixtures current? Is there adequate light? Is the shower surround current? For example, smaller pink tile was very popular in the 50s and early 60s. Today, it's a big negative for your house, especially in the master bath. Today, we will be covering some last critical points before moving on. Continuing our discussion on interior preparation, there is one other improvement that is absolutely imperative. It's also extremely cost-effective. Your house should be cleaned to within an inch of its life. It should be as close to spotless as you can make it. A dirty home, or even one that's not perfectly clean, can be heavily devalued by most buyers. It makes the house less attractive or unattractive, and a lot of customers will assume that a dirty house is also poorly maintained. If cleaning is not your thing, it's worth it to hire a cleaning service to do it for you. Once done, you'll then need to keep it at that level until your house is sold. Think about details when you clean. the corners, the cobwebs that you might not normally see, the dust on windowsills. Those little details make a difference. Outside, curb appeal is important. The basic principles are the same as the inside. For example, paint. Peeling or faded paint says to the buyer that the house isn't properly maintained. Offers will be lower if the paint is deficient. Your lawn. If the lawn is in excellent shape, that's obviously best. In any case, the lawn should be religiously kept cut and trimmed. A clean appearance is critical. Finally, some simple touches can have a big impact on curb appeal. A few potted flowers can add a splash of color to a home, for example. Finally, as an inside, make sure everything is clean. So far, we've talked about aesthetics, but there are some other items that need to be in good shape or you'll take a hit on your price, possibly major. Most buyers use an inspector in their purchase deal. If these problems exist, they will be found. Your roof. A roof in poor shape or very old will hurt your value. A roof that leaks will normally cause a major hit to your price. Your foundation. If there are problems with your foundation, it's critical to fix them if at all possible. Few items impact a home price or scare potential buyers more than foundation problems. Windows. Rotting frames or cracked panes will affect your price and damage the perceived quality of your home. Your heating and cooling. A working furnace and air conditioning is simply assumed. If that's not true, it will really harm the price. Pests. Insects or rodents are a big hit on your price. Termites especially will turn people off. Other items may also impact the price, but these are the big ones. Most people hate risk, so they will usually lower their price by more than the cost of these repairs in order to protect themselves. The next step is critical: doing the disclosures. Sellers' disclosures may take different forms in different parts of the country, but the principles will remain the same. My specific description applies to the Kansas City area. Before you go to market, your realtor will usually ask you to fill out a seller's disclosure. This document lists any known defects or issues with your property. Most people are pretty uncomfortable filling these out. They feel it leaves them in a weaker position, vulnerable to being beat down on price, or forcing them into repairs that they don't want to do. While that's the most common way to look at it, it's also the wrong way to look at it. There are several reasons. You and your realtor should have reviewed and decided on repairs by this point. Your realtor can help you arrive at the correct price, as mentioned earlier. The price should account for repairs done, repairs not done, and the general condition of the house. One special condition is when the house is sold as is. As is generally means that no repairs will be done for the buyer, and it often means that no repairs have been done either. If you want to sell your home as is, that will significantly reduce your value, usually more than the cost of any repairs. Buyers don't like risk. Use as is only if absolutely necessary. Finally, looking at a seller's disclosure as making you vulnerable is exactly the opposite of reality. This document is a way of protecting yourself. Think of it as transferring ownership of the issues that you've noted. First, it blunts the impact of any defects or issues. Once you come to terms with your buyer, this document becomes part of the contract, meaning that the buyer accepts those disclosures, unless overridden by other terms. That becomes part of the contract. That means they acknowledge that the price includes whatever issues you have called out. They may still try to negotiate some repairs, but even by requesting repairs, they are acknowledging that they are aware of those issues. Next, it limits your liability. If a major defect were found after the sale and if it weren't called out in the disclosure, your buyer could come back on you, claiming that the defect pre-existed the sale and that you either knew or you should have known and are therefore liable. If your realtor is aware of a significant defect that you haven't called out, he or she is required by law and the realtor's code of ethics to make the buyer aware of it. Failure to do so could risk their license. Next, it limits any surprises in the inspection. In most cases, a buyer will have a formal inspection. Most major defects will be found. Even if a defect is beyond what their inspector can examine, the inspector may still call out an area of concern and recommend a specialist. The more new items they find, the more they will want to negotiate repairs or the price. Finally, it actually gives the buyer confidence. The more they know, the more comfortable they are with the buying decision. It also increases the confidence in the seller's transparency. Folks generally tend to be more comfortable with problems they know about than the worry of undisclosed problems. That's why my motto is, when in doubt, call it out. One more disclosure is the lead-based paint disclosure. If your home was built before 1978, you'll also have this one more document to fill out. It's required by law in the sale of a home. It simply asks if you are aware of any lead-based paint in your home or if you have had any testing for lead-based paint done. Your realtor may need additional items, but these are the most common. Now, let's talk about the last step before your home goes to market, the photos. Photos are the most important aspect of advertising your house. It's the photos that grab folks' attention. Everything else just seals the deal. But before photos, it's important to stage your home, whether you still live in it or not. It's been said that you never get a second chance to make a first impression. For most folks, that first impression comes from the photos of your house. Sometimes people think that staging means renting designer furniture to make the home look like, wow. That's actually fairly unusual, but there are still ways to stage your home inexpensively, most of which I've covered earlier. First of all, declutter. Everything that you don't absolutely need over the next 90 days should be stored. If you can, get a storage locker or a pod. If that's not in the budget, store it as neatly as possible in the garage. Clutter in the garage is usually forgiven. Next, depersonalize. You don't want to make the home cold and distant, but lots of family photos in particular, along with personal items pointing specifically to people in your family, should be stored. Seeing too much of your family hinders other people from seeing their family in the house. Next, de-offend. This is a touchy subject, but different people understand different items differently based on their background. Items and symbols around controversial subjects, such as certain flags or images, can cause a buyer to immediately dismiss your home. You are fully entitled to your opinions, and you're fully entitled to decorate your home however you want. But at this point, remember, you need to not think of this as your home, but as an asset to sell. Make it appealing to as many people as possible. Next, secure your valuables. Weapons should always be secured and inaccessible, preferably off-site. Firearms are a huge liability if not secured or removed. Small items of high value are value-dense and might walk away. If there are a lot of showings, it could be impossible to trace it back to any particular person. Finally, medicines, particularly prescription medicines, should be fully secured or taken off-site. Once that's done, you're ready for photos. Remember that the photos are a first impression, and you can't afford to have less than stellar photography for your home. Often it means hiring a professional photographer. Your realtor may have a photographer, or he or she may do it on their own. While phone cameras have gotten very good in recent years, getting the right photography has less to do with the quality of the camera than the quality and amount of light and the skill of the photographer. Seldom does a simple phone flash adequately show your home. You can discuss the cost of a photographer with your realtor, but it's worth it more often than one would think. Once the photos are done, your realtor will be ready to put a lockbox on your door and a sign in your yard. Unless you have privacy concerns, I do recommend keeping a yard sign. It generates interest. People often follow up. Congratulations, your home is on the market. You can relax, right? If the market favors sellers, as it has for the past decade, it might be tempting to take it easy after your home is on the market. But no matter how the market is doing, if you'll follow these steps, they will help you sell your house more quickly and at a better price. The first tip, keep it spotless. For better or worse, your house is now a stage. It's on display. It needs to be kept as absolutely clean as possible. This is hardest if you're living in a house with small children or multiple pets, but it's necessary until the house sells. The best way to deal with it is to just stay ahead of it. Dishes, vacuuming, and so forth. If there is a need to get rid of clutter quickly, for example, if you have a toddler with small toys, it may be a good idea to have a bin in the garage where you can dump things for a quick cleanup. Next, let's talk about scheduling. The more flexible you can be in making your house available, the easier it will be to sell it. Some specifics: try to have it available for as much of the week and for the most hours possible. There are obvious limits, especially if you have small children, but try to make it available during daylight hours. Try not to require a longer lead time than necessary for showings. Requiring a 24-hour lead or even an hour or more will cause some people to just move on, even in a seller's market. The more quickly the home is available, the better. There are different ways to allow your house to be shown. Here are the main ways in order of desirability. The most desirable is go and show. This is usually reserved for unoccupied houses. The agent just calls and is automatically allowed to show. Essentially, a yes. Next is the courtesy call. Agents can set up a showing, and while you can decline a showing if there's a problem, they can assume they're good to show otherwise. Essentially, it's assume yes unless you hear otherwise. Appointment only. Agents request an appointment and can't show until they get a confirmation. Essentially, it's assume no unless you hear otherwise. To sum up, the easier it is for buyers to see, the easier it is to get your house sold. One other note: until the pandemic is over, don't be afraid to require COVID protocols for as long as it's an issue. Agents understand and are often requiring it themselves. Our final point: listen to feedback. Your agent should request feedback from the agents and clients viewing your house. If you start getting consistent comments, it might be worth finding a way to address the issue. Otherwise, you may have to lower your price. If you'll follow these tips, you will benefit.
Count on me just like 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. You can count on me. You can count on